welcome to Free Cheese episode 352. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good night.
Good morning, listener. Matt, it's been a little bit. I haven't had my Coca-Cola subscription box, so I gotta just buy weird shit at the grocery store and then try it. And this here is called Just Water.
Just water.
But it's got mint in it, so let's see if it sucks or not.
So as he's drinking, I want to describe the look of this bottle. It looks like a little milk carton that is just all green.
This tastes like diluted mouthwash. It's not just water. It's mouthwash you can drink.
Yeah, edible, digestible, you know.
You could drink regular mouthwash.
I mean, but like, you know, maybe encourage
you shouldn't.
drinking. You know.
Used to work with a guy who did that in the parking lot. How are you this week besides drinking mouthwash?
Oh, good. I was actually productive. I'm in a weird work situation, but I was able to be more productive with work this week. So I got to venture out of the house. I wore jeans. I put on my contacts. The mask thing, you know, I'm smart.
Yeah. No
fog.
There's been a couple times I've had to run out like in a pinch, and I'm like, shit, and I didn't feel like put my contacts in. Grave mistake.
Yeah.
Especially as it gets more and more humid, it's just it's worse and worse.
Yeah, I can do it for like a grocery store trip. It's not the end of the world because like really all you got to do is wear it. It's not like you got to wear it in the car or whatever. It's just pop it on.
No, but even like walking around, because I'll end up like looking down at my list, and it's just too much.
Yeah. So a little productive. I didn't get to play as many video games this week because of it, but still, it's been fun.
I noticed a fun new trend as more people get on the road. I think more people are also, not that they weren't already glued to their phones, but I feel like being inside the house has just made the phone an appendage more so than it is. So it's just been everyone behind the wheel has a phone in their hand.
Yeah, I've noticed more of that too. That's my favorite game of like the person in front of me is kind of swerving a little bit.
Yeah.
Hit the gas pedal, change lanes, and look by and to see that guy fucking scrolling through an Instagram.
Do you remember that one time, was it last year or 2 years ago when we were coming back from
arcade? Yeah.
The arcade on my birthday, and that guy just had porn on his...
Yeah. Because we were all in the same car. Last year, I was riding back with Sandeep.
Right, we did, yeah.
That was when your brother almost burned out a car with fireworks.
Exactly. That was the fun one, yeah. Well, hey, speaking of fun ones, our good friend Kyle... I'm just going to put this up front. You know that Sea of Thieves is in your future, right?
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah, dude. Our friend Kyle, long-time listeners will know Kyle from the days of the Free Cheese, went out and got an Xbox this week. I don't remember why it started. I mean, it's my fault. I will take full responsibility for it. But I was texting him about something. Oh, he texted me about PS5 stuff. And then I was like, yeah, I'm kind of, whatever. And with the Xbox stuff, I'm not super compelled to jump because I have Game Pass on this thing and everything's... And we just started talking about Game Pass. He's like, wait, they have what? And he's like, it's like PlayStation Plus. And I was like, no, that's gold. Game Pass is just like Netflix. It's just everything's there. And he's like, real? And then like, he kept going back and forth like, well, maybe... And I was like, sleep on it. And he texted me the next morning. He was like, all right, I think I'm buying one today.
And so I feel like I see Kyle a lot more than you nowadays. I feel like I talk about Game Pass a lot at work. Whenever anyone brings up video games, I feel like I'm always Game Pass.
Yeah, I
have an Xbox, don't own a game, but I've played and finished many of games on an Xbox.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't
know. But yeah, so watch out because he's looking for some Sea of Thieves.
That's fine, man.
Hunting.
Like I said, I'm cool to play that game with others.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see Kyle's wild antics. Plus, I think I got Ori shit ready to go.
Yeah, you got to do that before June something.
All right.
So it's like mid-June or late June, so we got time, but yeah.
All right. Looking at your bottle.
Yeah.
Is it getting worse or better?
I haven't sipped it in a few minutes. I don't know. It's probably good. I'm just like reading what's in it. Apparently it's got water in it. So,
Well, it's just water with mint and some mouthwash.
with mint. Yeah, it actually doesn't say.
Well, it's just water. It says on the front. It says on the label.
I guess so.
Man,
I don't know.
there's a lot of literature on that bottle as you twirl it around. That's like
Because they tell you about everything they do and how much water is used and how much they use plants to make this bottle and stuff. It's all that kind of. Yeah. Well, hey, Matt. It's been several minutes since we hit record on this podcast. Do you think we move into the part where we talk about the video games we played in the last week?
No updates on Britney Spears' Instagram, right?
No, I mean, I don't have an Instagram, so I was just kind of always checking it or seeing it from afar when interesting things popped up. But yeah, have no updates other than I remember the gym. I remember she broke her foot. I sent you that one where she snapped her foot and just posted it casually as fuck. So,
all right.
Yeah,
I guess move into it because I got nothing.
I guess it's video games then. What'd you play since we last spoke?
All right, I got to break a rule I started last week. I got to mention Warzone. The end of the battle pass is it's I think it's still going through Monday. Well, it will still be up when this comes up. But as we record, breaking kayfabe, this is the final weekend of it. Double XP. But they added duos to Warzone for the first time.
They only ever had 3s and 4s and singles, but it was
originally trios, and then they added solos.
Okay.
And then they've always messed around that plunder mode that I still have not yet to play, making it quads, trios. I think that was even duos at one point as well. And then quads has been the latest addition that seems to have stuck. But now they added duos this weekend, and it was quite surprising. And me and Nick found out that when the playing field is kind of even, we are actually pretty good at this.
That's fun.
So yeah,
because you've just been mostly pairing up and finding a stranger, right? Or doing solos.
We don't even look for a stranger when we play together. We don't play with a stranger, so it was like 2 against 3s. We don't fill out our squad, so we're kind of at a disadvantage. But like that's what I'm saying. Like having just duos, it's kind of refreshing and nice. So I don't know. They might keep all 4 going into the next season. I hope that it would drop trios and keep quads, because me and Nick were talking about it last night. I think it's easier to engage in a 3v4 at a disadvantage than it is a 2v3. So hopefully, if they want to only keep the 3 main modes for Warzone, hopefully it's quads, duos, and solos. I think solos has to stay for someone that just doesn't want to deal with people.
Yeah, you're going to lose most of the audience that way. I assume they had hard-ass data that told them, hey, you got a lot of people just pairing up and doing twos.
If you looked at any Warzone or Call of Duty, Thread, Reset Air, any of them, everyone was screaming for duos, so that's that's your data.
But people screaming for it, and what the development side is seeing, they're seeing, I'm sure they have tracking and all that stuff, and they're watching it. The vocal minority is always just that, but if it's actually turning into real data where they're like, okay, we actually have 70% of our player base.
Yeah, so they said they were looking into doing that next season, so it was a little bit of a surprise that for the last weekend this is cool. Going on. And with double XP, there's probably a bunch of people logging on for the last little bit of the battle pass. Then I will start, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday next week.
Nice.
New one. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I know my brother has been nonstop with that game.
Well, Warzone, he got off of PUBG. Cool. Yeah,
he had been off PUBG for a while. What he'll do is he'll kind of fall off of just playing anything at all.
Oh.
And then he'll randomly buy a game and just kind of get into that the single player campaign or whatever. And then a bunch of his friends were egging him on to play it, and he was like, I just don't have time. I don't give a shit. Who cares? And then he would try it here and there, and I remember he told me he tried it maybe around the same time you were getting when it first launched or whatever. But he didn't really stick with it. And now I feel like anytime I look at my friends list on Xbox, he's playing it. And there was one day I called him and he didn't pick up. And I was like, oh, all right. He's probably at work. Because it was middle of the day or something. And I was like, he's working, I'm sure. No, Xbox. And then he was like, hey, sorry, we got out early because of rain. And, I just played. I was like, all right.
Does that entice you to download it now that your brother has it?
Nope,
No? All right.
not one bit.
All right. Fair enough.
Because I don't have the fucking hard. I got a 2 terabyte external on my Xbox.
That should hold it, I think.
It won't. No, I tried. It said not enough storage available. I deleted everything. I reformatted it so it was back to factory settings too. It didn't have enough space. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, that game is... the updates are incredible.
Yeah, that's the part where I'm like, I can't. That's the part where I am excited to see.
Well, console I heard is fucked because you do the first part like through the console, right? And then you boot it, and then you have to like do this service pack thing, which is like another like 20 gigs or something. And,
that's just...
And so like you just can't like set and forget. You have to actually launch the game. So I don't know. That's where I think PC is nice. I'll just installing new shaders, for 5 minutes at a boot than having to download 20 gigs on console. But yeah, no, that is still going strong. But I guess I'll just move in. My main event of the week has been The Witcher. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. That is a good game. It's a very good game.
It's still hanging. Like you're not getting tired of it because last week you talked about we talked a lot about side quests and story progression and how everything was kind of tying together. It's still...
Nope. I didn't get to like do the big binge that I wanted to this week, but no, I'll come home and I have no problems playing that for like 4 or 5 hours straight, and then like going to bed and then waking up and like, man, I wish I didn't have to go in so I can keep playing The Witcher. It's got its hooks in me for sure. So me and you were kind of texting about it, but it's pretty much that's my thoughts of it. Like it's just like every mechanic from like the from crafting to making bombs, potions, the combat, pretty much everything besides riding Roach, which is your horse, feels like a B+ to A- system. Like nothing stands out as like fantastic, perfect, great, but damn, it's all like really good. Like it all works in the world and how it's all fleshed out and stuff. It's like the thing that keeps bringing me back and just like wanting more is the quest. And sometimes not even the quest. It's just like earlier today, I played it for an hour before we recorded. I don't think I did a single quest. I think I was just running around playing people in Gwent to get cards. Like that, and like technically, I've probably done nothing on the checklist or the percentage marker in this game, but I had fun for an hour just running around in this big city, just doing shit. And I ran into like random bandits that were trying to jump me. Now that I got some levels and I've kind of gotten down the combat system, I just like slice through these people. Like it's incredible. I don't know. So like, I'm just going through like all these things, and then when you do get into the quest, like the best way I can describe it, like all these quests are just like these fun stories of like you can recite at a bar with your buddy, like, hey, remember that time when we did this, and like every quest feels like that. Like there was a quest where I had to go to this peller to like try to get some information for someone I'm trying to find.
A what?
So they're calling him a peller. I think it's like someone that like does shit with alchemy and can like talk to spirits and stuff like that. So he was like, oh, I need my goat, and it ran away, of course. So it was like one of those things like, go get the goat. And it was like, and even Geralt was like, really, I gotta go get your goat? Like, just kind of aligning with the player. Like, this is like tedious as hell. So it's one of those things, you go get the goat, and of course you gotta fend off monsters as you're bringing them back, blah, blah, blah. But then you get them there, and he's like, all right, let me do this ritual to try to see if I can track someone down. So he like mixes something, and all of a sudden he like bends backwards and is like talking like a demon. And I was like, all right, the payoff for getting that goat's kind of badass. It's just little things like that, even the tedious things like story wise, or like there's just a good payoff at some point. And there's just I talked about it last week with like how to get like that entrance ticket to this little town. It just seems to be multiple ways of going about things. For most of like the main story quest, which is kind of nice. Like I just randomly encountered beggars who it cut into like a talking sequence, and I used like my Jedi mind trick to make them go away instead of just like fighting them or giving them money, or so like you can kind of go about it any way you want. And I feel like I haven't gotten to like a major decision that alters the plot yet, but like I can't wait to see what that even looks like once I get there. I've seen some of that stuff because there's the relationship between you and Yennefer, and then I've come across another past love interest of Geralt's, Triss, and I think that could kind of, you can side with like either one, or if you want to love interest. And I've started to have those like dialogues where I can see like I can like push Triss away or embrace her or whatever. So like it's just a lot of that, and damn it, it's just really fun. It's just good. And like there's
what's up? Is your magic leveling up, or your mind trick stuff?
So like it's kind of straightforward. As you level or you find these like hidden sources of power, you get an ability point, and it's like it's kind of like a tree. There's different subsets. There's like combat, alchemy, the signs, which is like your magic, and I think there's like general ones for like vitality, stuff like that. But you can put it into like one of these blocks, and there's rows. So after you put enough things into the combat block, the second row will come to life, or you can start using that. But like each thing has like each little like combat like upgrade block has like 4 upgrades inside of it. So like you can kind of go in depth as you want. But then these blocks, you have to be careful, because if you spread it around, you'll have like 8 blocks to choose from. But on the right, like if you look at the menu on the right side, you can only equip like so many of those blocks at a certain level, and as you level up, those blocks unlock as well. So like it might be smart as to like put 3 things, like put 3 ability points into one block, because you only have like 3 blocks to use at the early stages of the game. And then like the leveling system, I think is quite kind of, I didn't like it at first, but I've come to like it because it makes me explore the world and the game. Like leveling really only comes from the quest. You're not like getting experience points from killing enemies, but if you are, like, it's not. I'm getting no feedback about it, and it's minimum. So like completing quest or like major parts of quest is getting you those abilities. So when you pull up your quest list, you're at this point in the game, it's kind of getting to be a mile long for me. There's level markers next to the thing, and it's like white if it thinks. It tells you the level number, but like it also signals through color. Like white if it's like you're good, yellow like it might be hard for where you're at, and then like red with a skull is like I wouldn't be doing this. So like you'll get a main quest, and it will be like for level 14, and I'm like level 10. So like the game is making you do these side quests to level up, but like it's. Because the side quests are so good, I'm having such fun with these like little stories and things like that. I don't feel bad, dude. It doesn't feel like a waste of time almost. And then of course the Witcher contracts. Since a Witcher is kind of made to take down these huge beasts, these brutal beasts. I think they've been the highlight for me in these side quests. So it's like you're just tracking down these weird creatures, and it's kind of like mini boss fights in a way every time, and some of them have really interesting stories too. So it's just there's a lot to unpack here, but like as it reveals its layers, it's just all really, really good, and just having a fun time. And I think I was telling you, like, this is a setting that I shouldn't be liking. Right, like this is fantasy. Like it's a cool fantasy, so it's not totally bad. But like this kind of stuff isn't the thing that usually grabs me. Looking ahead to Cyberpunk, which is like my favorite setting, it only raises expectations somehow for me and this game.
Expectations or excitement?
Both.
Or both. Yeah,
both. Like now to understand what they do with the quest system and how like it's nothing revolutionary. Like it's it's main quest, side quest, Witcher. Like you look for like it's nothing revolutionary about it. It's just the design of them, or like the stories they're telling, or something like they're just really, really good. So I can't wait to see how they maybe take that same approach in a more cyberpunk setting.
Yeah, that's. Not knowing much about The Witcher until you talked about it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of have a loose understanding, but, you've gotten into the details of it that carves that out a little bit more for me. That's exciting. I'm glad you're still liking it, too, and it didn't... Because sometimes with those open world games, you do kind of hit a point where you're like, Like, you haven't fallen into the checklist syndrome yet of like, all right, well, I gotta do these things.
You can't. In this game, you can't because you will go crazy doing it.
No, that's good. That's what I want to hear. You know, I feel like that's the thing that's turned me off from trying the Assassin's Creeds of the world and shit like that. And that was the thing, honestly, like Ghost of Tsushima, when they started showing that off the other week, just like seeing like, oh, it's an open world. The
one thing that's a little weird, and like the checklist system does like come into play like at first when you get that first, when you start getting that first crap, like you realize like you're level 5 and you're getting contracts and side quests for like level 25. And like at first it's like, oh man, that kind of sucks. But at some point, like just the list of quests just keeps piling on and piling on. So like you just get used to it, and it just I think it's to the point where I just accept that it's like almost ungodly possible to 100% this game unless you want to spend 400 hours in this world.
Yeah, I mean, you very well could if you wanted to, but otherwise,
so
get what you need from it.
So yeah, I'm just gonna keep plugging away at it until either I hit a wall, which could happen, but I'm not there yet, or The Last of Us comes out, I guess.
Did you try standalone Gwent, or you're still?
Funny enough, right before we recorded, when you had to step away, I was like, oh, I'll download it. So it was on my iPad. I haven't opened it yet.
I forgot they did a mobile release for that. I thought it was just PC. Did they put it on Switch too?
I think it was on console at points, but I think they discontinued console support.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I could just tell from it looks a little bit more hefty, so I don't know. I like the simplicity of regular Gwent in this, so I'm just I'll see how the twist what twist they bring to it and if I like it or not. But at this point, I think I'll try it.
Well, and later on today, you might be getting your artifact invite anyway. So.
Yeah, true. So
it could, yeah. Well, I left last week. We wrapped up recording, and then I kind of sat not knowing what to do. So I installed DC Universe Online on my Switch, as one does. Mm-hmm. I started playing that, and I made a villain, and then I was like, I should check back with my PC character. Installed it on PC. And it was the exact same thing you talked about with Call of Duty on console earlier. I installed it on PC. I go to launch it, and it has another bar. So I walked away from the PC and let it finish. I literally let it finish, and when I went up, the play button was hovering, and I just closed the app and stopped. But I played a few hours on Switch, just kind of toying around. But because I kind of graduated from Injustice, right? I was playing that, and I just wanted a little bit more direct control over a superhero character. So I was like, let me make I never made a villain. So playing a villain was pretty fun. But then something just wasn't...
How does DC Universe play with a controller? Because I'm assuming you play with a keyboard and have a bunch of things mapped.
I started DC Universe on PS3 and then 4.
I forgot you started there before.
I always knew it better there. Moving to PC, playing on a mouse and keyboard, I think that mapping some of the things was a lot better, and I think certain things like any of the characters I've ever used with flight as their movement option, it's always been so much easier. I think it's shift, I don't remember what it is now, or double tap space to kind of get into the auto movement. On console, you have to push in the stick, but you have to kind of do it. It's really finicky. I kept having my character kind of jump in the air and then fall to the ground. And then I have to catch myself. It's a weird thing, but generally I feel like I do actually like it with a controller better. And surprisingly on Switch, I liked playing handheld better than I did on the TV.
With something like that, that's very. I'm assuming besides the harder and major dungeons, a lot of that grinding stuff that you do in an MMO is just easier to just do on a couch or something.
Yeah, it feels... I liked just kind of hanging out and doing it with a controller on the TV or just handheld, but I found myself just watching a bunch of old bullshit on TV and then playing handheld. And I was playing with I gave my character ice powers, and I was using a staff as the weapon. So I hadn't done that, but it was a neat little change. You get different combos that way, where I feel like some of the character styles I've done before, where I had the Green Lantern powers, I had the ring, but then I had I don't know, whatever else. this was a good combo, but again, it still wasn't like fully.
Yeah.
I wanted something a little bit more whatever.
Sorry, one last question about on Switch. Sorry.
No.
What has it look graphically? Fine.
Good. I mean, to me, I might be totally wrong with this, but to me, it didn't look any different than when I was playing on PS4.
Okay.
You can definitely see some jagged edges and some things like that. That was why I ended up putting it back on the PC, though, because I remembered that I was playing it at like 5K.
Yeah.
Like, locked frame. And actually, the frame rate's pretty stable on Switch, too, from what I remember. There's some slowdown when you get into like heavy areas and stuff.
Yeah,
but
you're going to get that. Like,
yeah. But honestly, like if you're looking for like a dumb MMO, like let me just beat some shit and whatever, it's a good game. Just generally speaking,
yeah,
across
it's
the board.
been around forever. You just don't stay along the MMO scene, even if you are free to play. Like, if you're not doing something right.
Yeah, you have to stay competent. I think they do it well. I think from what I've seen of FF14, I think it's doing well.
They're not at the economist level though, right? They don't need to hire someone to manage their currencies.
Oh, like Eve?
Yeah.
Who knows, man? Maybe they might. You never know. But then I don't know. There was just like a perfect whirlwind of like desire and interest in something that led me to play Monster Hunter World finally and get past the opening hour-ish tutorial bit. I mean, I would say like the first 5 hours are all tutorial as it stands, probably even more. I bet that, after another week, I'm going to say the first 30 hours are tutorial, and then after another week, I'll say the first 100.
With open world games, they usually take their time to open the world for you.
This one, though, so it's not as open as I thought. Like, the term Monster Hunter World, or the title Monster Hunter World, it's not like, okay, drop you in and just go. Mm-hmm. You do kind of go map-based. But, so, I will say, I think, I've tried this game twice before. Once on PS4, there was like a free trial weekend or something for PS Plus members where I was like, all right, let me jump in, make a character, and try it. And I didn't make it past, like, I don't even think I got... I can't remember at all. I definitely didn't do a hunt. When it hit Game Pass, I was like, all right, let me give it another shot and just try this and see what I can do. And I did my first like hunt and was kind of like, whatever. Because then you like get back to the main hub world or the hub town, and there's just, you have to talk to this person. There's text, like I think, and I still like now I don't know how many hours in. I'm probably like 10 or 15 hours into the game. It's still way too bloated up front. There's way too many, like, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. There's so much text on the screen. Like, there's all of this stuff everywhere. It's almost as complicated as an MMO, but not quite. Like, it
sounds a lot like The Witcher, because The Witcher threw a lot at you, like, in the first hour.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't care.
I don't think I still understand how alchemy works, but it's there.
Yeah, and that's a lot of this, too. It's like, I don't know how some of this stuff works, but I know that it's there when I'm ready for it or whatever. And I have been slowly, like, peeling back the layers of that and being like, oh, that's what they were trying to tell me, and I didn't pay attention. And that's the thing. Once you get going in Monster Hunter, it is really, really, really good. And I'm starting to get the gameplay loop now. And the core of it, I mean, it's not any more complicated than its title. You're a hunter. You're in a world with monsters, and you hunt those monsters so you can then get materials and make better weapons so you can hunt stronger, more powerful, more scarier monsters. That's kind of it, right? But what's been fun is you get dropped into this world. So the first area you go to is like a forest, and it has some open areas, and there's other areas that are like completely like you can't look up to the sky at all. And as you're exploring each section, there's passive monsters that you might walk by that are like medium-sized, smaller monsters or whatever. And you can fight them not fight them, they won't fight back. You can hit them and kill them for resources, almost just hunting them. But then there's the big ones that do kind of turn on you. And each one of those feels like a Bloodborne boss. And they're just there, right? Like you're just walking and there's one walking by you and you're like, oh God, and like, do they see me? Can I take this thing on? And you fight them. And you find out whether or not you can handle it or not. But basically, each level, you kind of go in, you start to wander, and you'll start to find like tracks on the ground. So you inspect the tracks, and you have like a little meter that fills up. And the more full that meter becomes, the more it'll level up to a point where you can then like it'll like identify where that monster is on the map, or it gives you an easier way to track the monster on the map. So you kind of like, oh, there's some footprints. Oh, there's some like drool from the monster. So I can, track that. And it just keeps giving you better clues on where to find them in the map, especially if it's a map you haven't been to yet. You've kind of followed the tracking until you find the thing. Inevitably, you come across the monster, and then it's just this huge, massive, towering thing that's scary. But once you've done a couple of them, they're less scary and more, okay, what's my approach with this one? Do I need to stay behind it? Do I need to stay in front of it? Do I need to attack its tail first? Do I need to go after the wings? Like, what am I doing here? And it's fucking exhilarating. Like, that's the part that I don't think I'll be able to articulate properly, but just that genuine feeling of like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And then you fucking do it. It just feels so good. The cool thing is the first day, I remember I'm playing the game and I'm past the point where I'm enjoying it, right? And I'm on a hunt and I'm chasing after whatever monster the kind of quest wanted me to hunt. And a fucking T-Rex walks by. And I'm like, oh my God, this is T-Rex. And what do they call it? The handler. She's like the NPC that kind of just keeps talking to you. She's like, oh, you should get the fuck away from that. And I was like, okay, I will get the fuck away from that. And then the second night I'm playing and it's like, hey, there's that T-Rex. You should kill that T-Rex. So it's like day one, oh my God, a T-Rex. Day two, oh my God, let's kill that T-Rex. Like you slowly just, you're getting better and you're getting more confident. But you're also getting better weaponry to take on those things. And it's all just about the approach. It's a boss fight, right? It's just a game about boss fights. I think so. The Iceborne is the latest, or the expansion for the game, right? The big everything's frozen, whatever. And with that, because they wanted to give new players, right? Like, I think the development team saw the opportunity where you might have someone who played Monster Hunter a whole bunch, Monster Hunter World a whole bunch. Iceborne's coming out. They finally talked their friends into playing, and they want their friends to join them, but it's going to take a long time to get to the point where you can actually play Iceborne. So they put armor in there that is like, I think the default like defense on it was 60. It's max level, it's whatever, but it's 60. And to put that into perspective, like the first armor I was crafting in the game was like 2, right? So it's up there, right? And my character was defaulted, or like that was the default equipment when I started the game. So the first few monster fights, they're intimidating, but I'm seeing the hits and the damage I'm taking, and it's not so intimidating because I'm kind of a tank at this point. But I knew what that armor was, and I was like, okay, well, I'll leave it and whatever. But there's 2 things wrong with it. One, it's ugly as shit. It's just stupid ass looking, like dumb whatever, and I want to look like a fucking barbarian woman who skinned a goddamn monster alive and shrouded myself in its bones. Yeah. And what?
Said naturally. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And 2, it's not teaching me how to play the game. I think that's the downside to it, really. Like the look is whatever if it's helping me through, but I'm then not reliant on potions. I'm not reliant on different things because I can take a hit. It's not that big of a deal. So I swapped it out and I made some like decent armor, as decent that I could, but it's still very low. Like I think when I crafted it, it was like 6 was my like numbers instead of 60. And I've slowly leveled that up a little bit as I've worked a little bit more, and I'm getting some of the pieces because you have to do it piece by piece with the upgrades. I've gotten them into like the mid to high teens at this point. So it's getting there, but it's still like my hunter rank is really low. All the stuff is still so low in the game. You choose your weapons on the fly. You can change weapons as much as you want. Not like in the middle of a fight. Like it's kind of when you're like, okay, I'm going to go on this hunt or I'm going to move into this area. You choose which weapons you want to, or which weapon you want to equip. But even when you're loaded in and you're at the campsite, like at the start of the map, there's a treasure chest or item box. You can just open it and swap out weapons right there.
Oh, okay. So you're carrying like a primary and a secondary.
It's a primary, period. So you do have though, you have items that you can equip. So those might be traps. Those might be, I mean, potions, food, shit like that to give yourself little buffs like stamina buffs or health boosts. And you do have I forget what they call it now, but it's basically when your weapon is not in your hand, you hold L2 or left trigger and it aims and you can shoot something. And that something might be these particular pellets you find, or you might find like piercing ammo kind of shit or something. I forget what it's called. A piercing pad or something like that. Piercing pod. You can do that and equip that. And that's kind of stuff where, for example, there's one boss fight or character that you take on who's kind of intimidating at first because he's the biggest enemy you maybe have seen. Now he's fucking trivial. He's old school. But he's like, imagine a velociraptor shape, but with like a fucking bird's head and a beak. So he kind of like, he's quick and fast and nimble, and he digs out rocks. So he'll hold a rock and then he'll fucking try and beat you with it or throw it at you. So when he digs a rock successfully out of the ground, then you need to stand back and slingshot him a couple of times so that he fumbles with the rock and drops it. And once he does, then you can move in and start getting back to damage. And that's kind of the tactic with him.
You're giving me like a lot of like Horizon Zero Dawn vibes.
Yeah, and funnily enough, I mean, they made her a not playable character, but they like brought in a lot of.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's funny.
They did all that stuff. I don't know how accessible that is. If you can just kind of like grab it, or if it's a quest you have to do to unlock her stuff. I don't know how they introduced it, but yeah, I mean, it's that kind of thing. Like you have to think about like, what is this monster type? What am I going up against? And you have a couple of things. So you have like a quest, like your standard ass story quest. It's all right. You have 50 minutes to hunt this guy, or you have 50 minutes to go find the whatever. And then there's expeditions. So expeditions just let you get wild in the world. So you're like, all right, I'm going to go back in here and just wander. Cause you're always at the hub world, which is like this weird, like wooden town or whatever. Everything's like planked up and there's like pulley systems that there's multi-levels. Like it's a weird, intricate Final Fantasy looking ass town. And then
how many Stanleys?
That's a great thing about this. Every character is unique and dynamic. There's like 6 different cats that make you food. There's all sorts of cool shit going on. There's different like alchemists and different what do they call them? Botanists. There's different like all these different like people with specialties, and they're kind of like quest givers that have you, hey, when you're out in the world, bring me back 6 herbs, and I'll give you some whatever. And all that stuff's neat because it is a checklist, right? It's someone saying get 6 herbs, but the benefit of that is I'm using those. They don't want those 6 herbs. They just want me to have gathered them. Yeah, so because I've gathered them, then I'm crafting it into potions or into whatever. So that's cool. The expeditions, they're letting you just kind of wander and see what's out there. So I've found different monsters show up during expeditions sometimes. Weather definitely changes it seems. But like there's just all this stuff that could happen. Last week we talked a lot about that emergent storytelling that happens, or emergent gameplay where just the world lets things happen, right? And there was just a badass moment where I'm fighting, I forget which monster, what the name was, but I'm fighting something, and that fucking T-Rex comes along and just starts fucking them up and they're both fighting each other. Then the T-Rex fucks off, and then I can finish off the dude a little bit easier. It was cool like that, where you could start to then think about, okay, how can I make this happen, right? Like, how can I lead a monster away from its comfort zone into the area of another one? So there's one, you probably remember the Rathalos from Smash Brothers where it showed up.
Yeah.
And the one level I loaded into, I don't know what caused 2 of them to load. One was a different one. Like one was like this, like, darkish red orange color, and the other one was more like tannish brown. So something was different about the 2. But I was fighting one, and when you're not in active combat with one of those flying I think it's Rathalos might be the name of one of the Rathians, so maybe it's a Rathian, but either way, when you're not fighting them, they're just actively flying above and looking for you, basically.
Yeah.
So one of them found me and comes down, but he ends up fighting the other one. So they're just going at it, and I'm sneaking up behind them and hacking at their tails until one of their tails falls off. They both fuck off. I get a bunch of materials from the tail and then go chase after them to try and kill them. And it's cool how like this different thing can happen, even though my expected outcome is walk in, fight monster, win or die, and leave.
What's so like you're going to hunt these monsters, and is it like because the town nearby is in danger of them, or is it more like a sport?
I'm gonna be honest. The story stuff is the part that I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
I didn't think this game had a story, but all right.
Yeah, there's some cutscenes playing out. And like, you're part of the Fifth Fleet, and you are hunting monsters for a reason. I am gonna be honest. I could make some shit up and like trace back the cutscenes I've blankly stared at. And try to fill something in. I know the part that I just did, like they wanted us to capture this gigantic, huge, like mountain of a monster, so that he didn't destroy this town. But other than that, I think generally, I think it's a lot of like, okay, we need to see what else this world has. Like it's just like the game starts where you're on this like flying ship and shit gets fucked up and everything crashes, so you kind of like land on this space. And the whole thing is just trying to make it from one end to the other, I think, to get back to your people kind of thing. I might be wrong about that. That's the idea, though. Like, you're just trying to get through the world. But, yeah, I mean, it's at its core, you're doing boss fights, and that's really cool. The boss fights might be interrupted because the monster decides it needs a break. And that's kind of one of the cool things too. Like you have a health bar and you have a stamina bar, but there's no health bar on the monster. So it's all about visual tells. And like, you really get to learn these monsters pretty well, pretty quickly too. Like you watch like what they're doing. How does their tail move? How does their face move? How do their arms move? What happens when I'm behind it? What happens when I'm in front of it? Because they all react, intelligently to your position and what you're doing to it. And then the neat thing is like you'll get to a point where you fuck them up so much that they just try to run away, and you see them like hobbling and like their whole body's just kind of like twitching a little bit, and you're like, okay, I'm getting close, right? Like, or if you see them just kind of like roar and then walk away like staunchly, you're like, shit, I still got a little ways to go. It's cool. And like the first couple levels, and I think it was probably because I was doing it with the that OP armor on, but you have a time limit of 50 minutes. And I was getting these hunts done in like 15 to 20. And I was like, how would you ever take 50 minutes to do this? And there was one where I literally ran out of time because once I set my armor back and once I whatever, it was like, you have to spend time fighting this monster, and then the monster runs away. So you have to go track it again. And it's good because it gives you a break to heal and maybe craft new items along the way that now you've seen a new monster for the first time. You're like, I need something to paralyze this thing. And I have some paralysis mushrooms I've collected, so I can use those to make a trap to shock it or whatever. But it's exhilarating. Like I said that before, but it's just like the thrill of it, like of just like, oh my God, I did it, Especially that the T-Rex, when I finally did take that down, it was like, that was a huge triumph because it did not feel like I was ever going to win. And then I just fucking...
Yeah, it's I don't know, I do like games like that where it's just like a kind of like a boss rush, but not really. It's just it's always seemed like too slow for me. I know because like the 50-minute thing, I think that's the thing that kind of turns me off. But like the world part of it, right? That's where you get to play with friends. Like once again, it might be one of those Sea of Thieves things where like, doing this for 50 minutes by myself sucks, but like if I was talking to you or Mark or anyone else, like that might be a little bit better.
That's the thing. So I've learned a couple of things from this. I think that what they want you to do in this game is play through the campaign by yourself. Because I see these little tooltips pop up as I'm loading into certain missions that are like, hey, you have to watch this cutscene before people can join you or before you can join others. So if we were both trying to play through the story mode together, I don't think it would actually work. But I think that's good because I'm learning the language of the world and I'm getting better at it, right? It's not unlike an MMO where, like with Final Fantasy 14, I was going to just buy the level skip and jump to Shadowbringers and play that because I wanted to see that, because everyone said Shadowbringers was so good and a lot of that other stuff was kind of tedious a little bit. So I was like, I should do that. And I talked to someone who plays it and they said, like, dude, no, don't. Like, I wouldn't recommend it because you're going to jump in and you're not going to understand how to play with other people because you don't know what your role is. You're just going to be, you're going to be doing high level stuff without high level experience. And I think that's the cool thing here is like, I'm playing through this and I'll get to a point where the actual game is, okay, let's go hunting so I can get this thing to make whatever. And it's all about crafting better weapons and crafting better armor so that you can hunt better things, so that you can craft better armor, so you can craft better weapons. Like it's just that loop of it, but it's a satisfying loop. Like just little things of like, I climbed up a cliffside and this guy comes running at me and I was like, can I jump on him? And I just kind of jumped off the cliff and landed on his back and it popped up with a button prompt that was like, press Y to stab. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. So I'm pressing Y to stab. And then it's like, hold RT to like stabilize yourself. And I'm like, oh my God. So I like fully fucking did this. I'm just stabbing him in the neck over and over again. And it was like, oh, that's really like that moment of like, can I? And then, oh shit, yes, you can. And it's a really good tactic. And now it's made me think like, okay, well, with certain enemies like that have like an opening, like not everybody, right? Like you're not gonna be able to jump on the guy who's constantly spinning in the mud. That's not gonna work because he's just gonna flail you off. But the people who are like kind of top heavy that need to stay grounded on their feet or whatever, those I could probably get on top of and do some damage. But yeah, I think that's the thing is like you get to the point where you can then start doing this with friends where it would be, but I think you do need to play alone, right? Because like if you just jumped in, Mark just jumped, if we all were just playing 4-player against these guys, we would just be wailing away, right? Like someone would stand at the back hitting it, not taking the damage. You'd have somebody up front like absorbing whatever hits it takes, revive each other and move on. But now I'm learning like, what is this guy's tactics? All of that. And I think that makes you a better cooperative player later on. Or I would assume so. I don't know for sure, but
yeah, I mean, the more you know, the more you can like the more you can help.
Yeah, it's cool. There's a lot of like little things. From my understanding, Monster Hunter was always kind of obtuse in a way, and there were some things about it that were tough. Like, and I understand that Monster Hunter World has streamlined a lot of those things, like healing animations, like little things like that would previously like take time and you'd have to like think about. They've made things a little bit easier for newer players to the series. There's one thing, I don't know if this is always there or not, but I noticed that when I would hit little thresholds, like let's say, I forget what it is, but let's say you need 5 herbs to craft a small potion or whatever, or a max potion or whatever. When I would pick up my 5th herb, a little pop-up would happen that's like was the max potion thing, like letting you know like, hey, you've got this, you can craft this now. So that was really like, oh, okay. It makes you then think about like, I need to stop. I need to take a moment to start crafting. It's just, man, I don't know. I don't know how much more I could say about it, but it's a lot of fun. Like I dreamt about gathering materials the other night. Like I like woke up and I was like realizing that I was like running through my head of like, okay, I need 3 more of this guy's scale. So I need to go back to this level and get it's that kind of thing and super fun.
All right.
And like you with The Witcher, right? Like, I don't give a fuck about dinosaurs. Like, that aesthetic does not do anything for me. And this is a little bit more than dinosaurs, but they're still very much kind of dinosaurs. And I was like kind of getting tired of it because I had spent so much time in the forest, and the second area is this like desert canyon kind of thing. And I had spent so much time in those with the regular quests and then just jumping in to do expeditions because I needed the materials to level up in my equipment. And I was like, like my excitement jumping into it last night was definitely less than it was the day before, right? Like I was starting to feel that like diminishing returns. And then I load up the level and they're like, hey, go here, do this thing. Totally different, like huge boss battle thing. And then the next stage I go to is this sea of, it's not a sea, you're not underwater, but it's just a coral reef world. Like you're just walking around and everything is like this complete contrast to the forest and the desert that you just saw, like bright pink, purple colors. totally different enemy types, and it was like, okay, cool. Like it just like that can change what you expect of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I still don't think it's a game for me, but you know, I will stay tuned.
I think you would like it. Like aesthetics aside, right? Like, but just the core like hunting part, like the monster hunting part, that.
Like
you would
like
like
it does
that.
sound like Horizon. Like I remember, like you're talking about the T-Rex thing. Funny enough, like you just robot T-Rexes in Horizon. Like I remember going to the valley and seeing that T-Rex for the first time. I'm like, I don't feel good about this. But then like you get that there's a mission and there's a T-Rex in the area that you have to kill, and like picking it apart piece by piece and just doing the things that you have to do. I think once you finally take it down after maybe like 20, 30 minutes, it's like it is a good feeling. Yeah, I get that part of it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that part, it's fun. Like I downloaded the demo of the one that's on Switch. I didn't play it yet, but I kind of want to because I kind of want to play that one because you can get all of Link's clothes. So I think like the getting like Aloy's outfit is something kind of neat, and like getting Link's dumb thing. There's like Star Fox costumes, like that's the part. And I know in Monster Hunter there's like fucking Jill Valentine or no, I think it's Claire. You can dress up. It's like just stupid shit like that. I feel like that would be neat, fun, dumb shit to unlock.
Because it was Capcom's bestseller for.
Say it one more time.
I said they did something right because it was Capcom's bestseller. Like
yeah, and oddly enough, like I was looking into that, it was 70% of its sales in that opening like little whatever when it broke all these records were all from the West, which is kind of weird because like it never took off here the way it did in Japan. Because in Japan, a lot of it was PSP success because everyone had a PSP and you're just on trains all the time. So yeah. But if you're listening and I've piqued your interest at all, it is on Game Pass. I think there's some sales coming up too, I would assume, with some of this weird summer gamey stuff. That's hard not to call E3, but not E3.
Yeah, I know. Like I don't know if it's on there, but I know GOG released their summer sale. Like that's all starting to come. I'm sure Steam's around too. Or Steam just had a sale, I feel like. I don't know.
Trickling. Huh?
I feel like Steam maybe just had a sale, too. But I don't know. I don't know.
They usually do a couple yeah. Well, why don't we take a break, and we'll come back and talk about some summer news coming up. Not a ton of news stories this week. I think we'll have a bigger week to talk about next week, but we will make some predictions this week, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. We'll be back right after this. Welcome to the back half of the show where we talk about what's happened in the last week. There was a story we missed last week, Matt, that I missed before putting all the news together. EA, if we stretch that out a little bit, Electronic Arts announced that the Command & Conquer Remastered Collection, I'm just going to read their direct quote. Alongside the launch of the Remastered Collection, Electronic Arts will be releasing the Tiberian Dawn.dll and Red Alert.dll and their corresponding source code under the GPL version 3.0 license. This is a key moment for Electronic Arts, the CNC community, and the gaming industry, as we believe this will be one of the first major RTS franchises to open source their source code under the GPL. It's worth noting this initiative is a direct result of a collaboration between some of the community council members and our teams at EA. This is big.
That is big for EA, yeah.
Well, for anybody, dude. I mean, no big, what do you call it, large-scale development company or publisher has been working to publicly preserve its games in the way that I think EA has started to. It sounds counterintuitive because we've been following this industry for a long time, so we know the years of EA being written or voted the worst company in America and stuff because of people just flagging those or flogging those votes. But I think EA gets that easy rap, right? I mean, the FIFA, the loot boxes. There's a lot of insidious business practices that take advantage of
buying companies.
There's a lot of bad blood there. I'm not trying to whatever, but credit where it's due. There was the talk from GDC 19 last year where one of I forget his job title now, but he was a game preservationist at EA, a historian who worked at EA. And what he talked about EA doing is making sure that there were sort of like standards and practices put in place for keeping a game preserved. But it was super detailed, like about an hour-long talk, I think. It's really like fascinating what he's doing at EA and how it's then infiltrating the rest of EA. But talking about the things that are, and it's stuff that Frank Cifaldi at the Video Game History Foundation has talked about for years, and stuff of like, you can't just preserve the game. You can't just hit fucking file, save as, and grab the source code and save that. That's important, but it's also, do you have headshots of every person on the team? Like, do you know who made this game? Do you have an exact replica of the hardware, the dev kits they were using, so that in 15 years, when someone goes to recompile this game, can they actually make it run on that hardware 15 years from now? It's preserving the tools they use, preserving all of that, and as software changes over time, like it's a big undertaking, but it's cool that it's now being kind of brought to fruition with this, release and put out to the public like that.
I mean, yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, look at Doom, right? Everyone's still fucking. I mean, even last year it was George Romero, right? He put out what was
John Romero.
God, I did that. I think I did that like 2 years. I made a mistake last year. John Romero just put out the fucking expansion.
Yeah, Sigil. Yeah, right. And I think that's the cool thing about this is like it always did that with its games, right? And that would lead to the community becoming bigger and having, and that ended up leading to careers for some people where they started as someone making mods for Doom and then they now run id. But that too is, I think, something here, right? Like, it's big for the community because now the people who do play Command and Conquer can get in and actually start building that game. I mean, sadly, I don't want to I don't love this, but Dota was born out of this kind of stuff, right? Like, you think of like an entire genre being opened up because, not that like Warcraft source code was out there in that same way, but that mod community, who knows what could be born out of something like this?
Auto chess.
Yeah. What's up with that? People still...
Well, it's still. I mean, Underlord's still around. That League of Legends, Legends of Runeterra, they're still around.
I thought it was Team Fight Tactics.
What's Legends of Runeterra?
I have no idea.
All right. Well, yeah, it's Team Fight Tactics, definitely. I don't know what that other one was. Yeah, but it's still around.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, there's things like there was the big like Nintendo leak that happened not too long ago that I don't think we talked about on here, but source code for Wii and DS and stuff got out there because of that hack, leak, whatever. Because a lot of the stuff is like proprietary and secretive, and they keep it close to the chest or the vest for a reason. I think it's cool though when a company's willing to put that out there.
No, it is. And like only good will come from it. Like there's nothing. I don't think there's anything bad you can do with, especially one with the age of the game, right, or the games. But like, there's nothing bad that can come from it.
Yeah, I want to see if it starts a precedent for other companies to do that. I think that there's a lot of stuff that's just inevitably going to be lost to time, or already has been lost to time. That's unfortunate. So anything companies can do to take a step forward is, I think, cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna, before we get into the current news, you fucked me up 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And then off the inspiration of Pop Quiz Jackass,
I
have made a new game for us on the free cheese, coming off of the news we're going to talk about later on about PlayStation 5. The way I judge people when I meet them now is with the question, vert or street? And with that being said, we're going to run through a list of former and current PlayStation executives and answer the question, do they skate vert or do they skate street? And I will start with the current head of PlayStation, Jim Ryan.
Vert.
John Codera.
Vert.
Herman Holst.
Street.
Former exec Sean Layden.
Street.
One PlayStation Vita fan, Gio Corsi.
Street turned vert.
Street turned vert, all right.
Yeah.
Well, did he go vert before leaving or after leaving? Or is he still at PlayStation?
No, he's at Ilphonic. He just helped put out Predator.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I
No,
to the podcast. I should have known that.
He started Street, but he then moved to, like, he brought the Street style into the vert. You know what I mean?
Got it. No, but I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew House.
Forgot about him. I miss him. God, it's hard to picture him on any. I'm gonna go Street.
All right. Our good old friend Jim Carrey, Mark Cerny.
I feel like he's no. That's the one I can't answer your question with. Like, he's building the ramps and then explaining to you why you should be on the ramps and why a ramp is better than a fucking curb, but he's never getting on the board. Right?
Well, that would make him vert if he's talking about the ramps and the ramp angles and all that stuff.
But he's not skating it. Like, he's not going to be on it. And
come on. No, look, just because he does system architecture now, he got his hands dirty with Crash Bandicoot and Knack.
I'm not saying it, but even still, like, all of that is from a level of, like, what could we do if given the possibility
of the pictures of your ears?
Think about how the curvature, like, it would be that if I got to pick one, if it's arbitrary, then it's vert, but I don't even think he'd fucking do that.
All right. We're getting to the end here. One, Shuhei Yoshida.
Street. The man owns a Wii U, so that's
fair.
Street.
Kazurai.
Street. Oh, dude.
Twitter Kazurai.
Street. Also Street.
Adam Boys.
Vert. He wants to be in the street, but he can't leave the pipe.
All right. And last but certainly not least, the smiling, dick-slinging Jack Tretton.
Oddly enough, he's like a Mark Cerny to me. Like, neither, right? Like, because he doesn't fit in with the crowd on either side, right? He is his own crowd.
So you think he's skating in the pool with water in it? Like, is he just on another level?
I feel like he's just I don't even know.
Does he use his third leg as the pushing leg, or does he use an actual leg to push and keeps the third leg on the board?
The third one's in his hand, and he's hitting people with it as he skates by, for sure. But yeah, I feel like he's not. That's a tough one, and he's looking right at me too. I got of course, a home office would not be complete without a portrait of Jack Tretton nearby. But I mean, looking at him obviously right here in front of my face, he's gonna play both, and it's because one, he can, and because two, when we play together, we stay together, right? So he's the balancing bridge between the two. Does that make sense?
Fair enough. None of this has made sense, but, I agree. It does.
Well, I appreciate you trying to explore the depths of my fucking stupidity, for lack of a better word.
Well, with that has been the first edition of Vert or Street here on the Free Cheese Podcast.
I like that.
Stay tuned for more editions of this later on.
I'm going to be thinking a lot about Jack Trenton on a skateboard today. And now, this whole create a skater mode and Tony Hawk
I was just thinking that.
Got a new, Shit, now I feel like I need to make a new character in Monster Hunter.
I don't know, man.
Well, maybe when you get to that point where you're like, I'll try it. Maybe that's where you start, and that'll keep you going. Speaking of keeping you going, the Dota 2 Battle Pass released this week, Matt.
We were due.
Yeah.
We were due.
So you can create... There's new guilds added into Dota now. Anyone can join a guild, but only those who own the Battle Pass can create a guild. There's daily challenges peppered throughout, and then a special summer event coming soon, quote, a labyrinth of trials and horrors. Is that similar to what they did last year, or is this something new, you think?
Yeah, this is the third year I would probably buy. I will end up buying the Battle Pass. The fourth, I've been paying attention to Dota with one. It seems like every year they do one of those hero labyrinth things. I forgot what they're called now. One of those where you play through the heroes, you get the treasures, and it seems like this one there might be a second map if you find a hidden passage or whatever. So another twist on that, and they seem to do a new mode every year, like a temporary thing. And I know the last couple have not been a fan favorite, but I think they've all were competitive. It seems this year they're going back to a co-op adventure kind of thing, which they did the year I started playing Dota, and I didn't buy the Battle Pass. I think it was called Silt Breaker or something like that. But yeah, I ran. It's one of those articles or news posts that you're reading, and then you think you're done, but you're not. You still have 2/3 of a page. So I got about halfway before I kind of gave up on everything. But it looks very similar to last year's Battle Pass. You're going to end up getting a new mode at some point, same as the last couple Battle Passes. Didn't come right away. You got one of those hero challenges things, all kinds of daily quests, weekly quests. There's going to be, if you own the Battle Pass, you're going to get votes for a new Arcana tournament. It usually is revealed at TI, but with TI being delayed indefinitely right now, we'll see. I don't know if they have a deadline on this. I don't remember reading it in the blog post.
I didn't catch one if there was one.
Because I'd be interested to see if they extend it.
Yeah, did you look at any of the stuff on the inside?
On Dota?
I mean, what I saw there's a gender swap for one of the characters. There's a couple of different things to unlock this year. Yeah,
I really haven't looked too much in depth. I was more scrolling through and realized how endless it was. I was just getting very similar vibes to the last couple. I mean, which is fine. It's fun. But I haven't really looked into. Honestly, I don't even know. I don't know the meta right now of Dota. Since I kind of after TI last year, kind of fell off hard. And haven't even really watched any tournaments. So I would just need to get back into that. I know just some of the things on the map have completely changed. Some of the mechanics have changed. Everyone has a courier now in regular Dota, which yeah. So there's a bunch of weird meta changes that I would have to get back acclimated with before I think I would even be tempted to play. So yeah, but
Artifact's coming. So
yeah, exactly, and their Battle Pass probably not.
Maybe. Maybe.
I haven't seen. I don't know if Dota Underlords is doing anything with a Battle Pass. I think they do. I think they're doing season things, and you can buy the Battle Pass every season. But I don't know if they're doing a special TI thing or not.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I feel like everything should integrate. That would be a cool coalescence of everything. But
oh yeah, there was that new thing, right? That was something new about getting these characters and leveling them up, and then selling them for some kind of guild points or something like that. They mentioned directly stacking heroes and making levels like Dota Underlord. So I think it's not an in-game thing, but I think it's a meta level thing. So that seemed new, but like I said, I haven't dived into the client yet to see what exactly is going on yet.
Do you think you will?
Yeah, at some point. I'm just not feeling it right now. I got The Witcher, which is taking a bunch of my time, and dude, like Call of Duty, it's like high school all over again. I'm just playing that like almost every night.
Do you have an hour count on that?
I started. I could like go through the multiplayer like stats and like through the Call of Duty app. I think you can kind of see that, but I have no idea. I gotta be over 100 hours though.
Bit Summit Gaiden has revealed its full game lineup for the online event scheduled later this month. They're doing something kind of cool where they've made a Discord so you can join there, and that's going to be kind of like if you were in person at the event, you could walk up to booths and talk to the devs behind the games. They're kind of doing all that behind Discord right now. So, yeah, it's pretty neat. I think it's bitsummit.org. You can go there and check out the whole list of games. But some good stuff usually comes out of Bit Summit from an indie perspective. And seeing the full game list, there's a couple I'm intrigued to see more about. So that'll be later, end of this month, I think the 20-something, 26th, 7th. Speaking of the 27th, August 27th is the release date for Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition, coming to Switch, PS4, iOS, and Android. And I did not realize, but Matt, it's got cross-play across all platforms being released on.
Interesting.
Because we had all talked about that when it was first announced that they were making that. I think it was first debuted at a Nintendo Direct, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
And we talked about it, but the fact that it's crossplay is pretty cool. I mean, I feel like I'll probably get it on Switch anyway, but yeah, this is one I never finished all the way, and they've added a new feature to it called Mimic that lets your character take on the form of different people you meet along the journey. So that seems like a dumb little thing. Make your character dress up like a cactuar or something. Speaking of Square Enix, Square has did announce midweek a bunch of Dragon Quest stuff. So they're doing, it was the 34th anniversary of Dragon Quest the other day in Japan. And they're now putting out, so it's going to be a new anime, a new mobile game, arcade game, and action RPG. So there was an old 90s manga spinoff called Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. And the important thing about that one is that it was all Toriyama art, I think, for that, doing the actual manga. I might be wrong, but I think that's the idea. So this is all based on specifically that spinoff, but they're doing the big thing is that there's the mobile game and there's an arcade card game that are both coming this fall. I'm sorry. The arcade card game's coming this fall. The mobile game for iOS and Android is sometime next year. And then the big thing is the action RPG called Infinity Strash Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. Strash.
Nah.
I don't know what. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's funny, like they did that. It's not as expansive, but when League of Legends and Riot came out with just announcing all those games and projects one after the other, it was like, all right.
Yeah, it was like one big, long, like, oh, cool. I guess there's something for everybody. But yeah, this is interesting. I still, our question from the other week, why haven't you played Dragon Quest XI? I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like, maybe I should. Xenoblade Chronicles just came out, and I don't have any interest in that. But if I want another big JRPG, I'm thinking Dragon Quest might be it. I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you there.
I don't know what to tell myself there, honestly. Hideo Kojima, you might know him behind Snatcher, but recently made Death Stranding. Says that the Death Stranding surpassed the amount we needed to make a profit. Sold well enough to be called a success. He says, in regarding what's next, can't say anything since it's still in the planning stages, but we're doing various work behind the scenes. Just recently, a big project fell apart, so I'm a bit upset about that. Laughs. Well, that sort of thing happens often in this industry. And then asked him point blank, do you know anything about the recent rumors to acquire the copyrights to Metal Gear Solid and PT? And he said, that's completely false. I haven't heard anything about it, at least. Laughs.
Yeah, going back to Death Stranding, I know there was concerns about sales with that game, but I'm glad to see it was profitable, and I'm sure the PC development it will hopefully pad that, and so that way they can stay independent. People were spinning out that project that. Teasing the next big project or something. I saw like headlines of that, and like when you read the interview, it was like, one, like he said, this shit happens a lot when you're in the pre-planning stages. It's not like a game was 80% done and he canned it,
right?
And and this guy is probably full of like weird fucking ideas.
Yeah.
If you look at any Metal Gear Solid game and recently Death Stranding,
and remember, like, there was a point where he talked about how his studio is going to start taking on movie development stuff. So it might have been one of those projects that he was...
Exactly. I was going to bring that up. Like, it could have been the movie project that's falling apart or something. So I'm just happy to see that Kojima Productions will live on for at least another project or two.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be a shame if they didn't. So that's
and if not, I'm sure Jeff Keighley was give him money from his savings.
Yeah. Is that? I think it's okay. The last ones. Xbox Series X commits to having the widest range of backwards compatibility at launch, allowing people to play games with the benefits of the Series X. So the idea being that like you could play some of the old backwards compatible stuff at much higher frame rates and resolutions, kind of tapping into the full power of the Series X. So that Final Fantasy 13 4K 60 frames up-res is now, fucking 8K 120, maybe not 8K, but even more better.
Great.
I talked about that. And the thing, so I shared this article here. This was posted to Xbox Wire about just kind of having, I think the framing they put it as is Xbox Series X launches with, more than 1,000 games playable. And they talk about the entire Xbox One library, the Xbox 360 stuff that has been whitelisted for backwards compatibility, and then further, there's Xbox titles that have been whitelisted for backwards compatibility. They use the term game preservation here in their little write-up as one of the like subheadings in the article. And I just feel like it's not fully that. Like, calling it preservation... We talked about EA earlier with the Command and Conquer stuff. Like, that is game preservation, right? This is... I'm not discounting the work that they've done, because they've done a lot of work to make these games run on new architecture, and they've done a lot of those third-party deals to work with people to make sure the licensing is in the right spot so that these games can be forward compatible with whatever future Xbox stuff comes up. But when you talk about preservation, that means that you're figuring out a way to make the original hardware playable, or you're figuring out a way to make me buy a random-ass Xbox disc, pop it into my Xbox Series X, and it works. That's preservation. The stuff that, I don't know if you saw this, but there's a private server being put together by someone. It's right now, like, I think Patreon only, and get in on a Discord server to help build this thing. But people are rebuilding Xbox Live, like the original Xbox Live that got shut down. So that's preservation to me, is making that shit work. Not...
I think it's one of those things where, like, video game preservation, I think they're just using it as, like, maybe... Yeah. It's probably not the right way, but they're using it to say, like, hey, like, we're trying to make all of our games playable from the day one of the Xbox. But I agree with you, though. Preservation is, like, all, like, preserving all that, like, all your old ads, all, all those credits, everyone that worked on these games, the hardware, that's... preserving a physical copy of your first, that first game or whatever. Like, that's preservation, not the fact that it's playable through what is essentially emulation on a machine.
Right. Last question about this. Do you think that it's because the launch lineup is Halo Infinite and not much more? You think that's why they get out and emphasize this? Or do you think that they know something about the PS5 that we don't, and they're trying to make this as a good counter to the upcoming PS5 stuff?
I think they're just reiterating it as like, hey, we didn't come out with backwards compatibility before. We saw what happened. And the more we've talked about backwards compatibility, the more like good thoughts are come around Xbox. I think they're just doubling down on that, going in, just making sure people know that, like, hey, we're going to make sure everything's backwards compatible. And even, like, Series X games are going to work with smart delivery if they let you do it. Like, yeah. I think it's just doubling down with that. Everyone says that high number of games, but, like, honestly, like, how many of them do you want to play, though? Like, how many of them are going to be already available now? Like, 970 of them?
Right.
Yeah, so, like, that it's just a good PR number to say 1,000. Like, actually, you know what? PlayStation could probably come out and say a very similar thing and say 1,000 titles playable with PlayStation Now. So, yeah, like it's just a sneaky PR move. I don't know if this is sneaky, but it's just a PR.
No,
move.
Yeah, it's leveraging the language in a way that makes it
just like you're leveraging the word preservation.
Yeah. Speaking of PlayStation 5, we have an event coming this Thursday, June 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a first look at the, quote, games you'll be playing after PlayStation 5 launches this holiday. That implies to me we're going to see some stuff that's not just launch, but stuff like we'll see a little bit more of a peek at what first party is up to that might not be there, this holiday, but might be there a little bit past. The showcase is more than an hour. And Jim Ryan says, after next week's showcase, we will still have much to share with you. Jason Schreier reported this via Bloomberg, corroborating kind of some stuff that Jeff Grubb had been saying. And then a Famitsu tech journalist has teased a, quote, huge scoop for the June 4th issue of Weekly Famitsu. So I guess all on June 4th we'll get some sort of breakdown.
Yes, sir.
But before then, and to close out this podcast, we're gonna make some guesses here at what we're gonna see.
Oh yeah, yep.
You want to do this fucking ping pong style?
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, hit me. What do you got?
All right. The conference or presentation, I'll use the word presentation. The presentation is going to be held together by three major pillars of first-party studio games. And in no particular order, I'm going to hit you with the three they're gonna focus on. Horizon 2, a new God of War title, and Twisted Metal.
I appreciate that when we started this, I think before we were actually recording, you said that it's difficult to draw a single prediction out into a bunch of splintered point predictions.
This is the only one I do
that with.
And yet,
your first fucking prediction.
This is the only one I do it with.
I like that. I could use a new Twisted Metal. And I like that you piggybacked on January, Matt, to make sure.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, Matt, it wouldn't be a brand new console if we didn't have some vehicles to show it off with. So Gran Turismo 7. Of course,
yes, the vehicles. I'll just give you, if we're doing points, just take the point now.
Boom.
Cars.
Honestly, I was thinking about it and like, I could do a Gran Turismo 7 right now. Like thinking about that this morning after you told me to put some predictions together, I was like, yeah, Gran Turismo 7 is potentially the only thing making me excited for a PS5 right now.
It's cars, man.
And that's a game I'll play for 2 weeks and get tired of. But man,
it'd be a day. It'd probably be an hour. Oh, all right, there's my lap. Yeah. There's my lap. Got it. Looks good. I did it. Look, I made the Civic black. Isn't that cool? Oh, now it's spun out. All right, time. All right, I'm done.
All right, we're done. Yep.
All right. The new Call of Duty gets revealed here, and it is indeed the Cold War Black Ops.
Nice. I didn't think about that. Next gen Call of Duty.
Get a look at what Call of Duty looks like on PlayStation 5.
Yeah. Do you think that I was
and it
skeptical
all lines
about...
around the new Battle Pass season. It's kind of perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I was skeptical about making third-party predictions because I'm like a little worried about what third-party looks like on this. Like, can they actually take advantage of some of the stuff on PS5, like the, fast loading and all of that? Like, I don't know. But I guess, yeah, third-party stuff needs to happen, right?
But if you're just showing trailers, like, you don't show the fast loading, right? You show how pretty it looks, what it looks like in engine. Like, I think you can lean into that with the third parties are not taking advantage of the SSD.
I kind of want more than just trailers, but yeah, you're right.
But you're gonna get just trailers at some point, and that's why I'm saying like the pillars of the conference are these first party games, and that's where they can show it.
Well, one of those first party games, I don't know if you know this, but I have hot scoop here, Matt, is Ape Escape, developed by Media Molecule.
All right.
As integrated into the family, they've been working on Dreams for 22 years. And when Herman Haas was moving up, he went and did a tour with all of the studios and said, what do you want to work on? And at Media Molecule, they said, look, we've had a great time. Yeah, for the last 49 years, we've been working on Dreams, and it's been fantastic. But in our 56 years of learning from Dreams, we've decided that we really love Ape Escape. So they want to work on Ape Escape. And they are.
Is it made as the next downloadable single player for Dreams?
No. After 76 years of development of Dreams, they want nothing more to do with it. They're putting it out there, and that's it. It is going to get ported to PS5, just because you don't spend 88 years on something like that and not make sure it's on every platform possible. But after that, they're done.
Every platform possible. It's just 2 platforms, dude.
Well, they want it on PC, but Jim Ryan won't let them.
Well, maybe 3 years later, like Horizon.
Yeah, it could be.
Last but not least, and this is the one that I've drew some inspiration from a Nintendo Direct. Logo, Final Fantasy 16. Nothing more. You can't do anything less. I'm not gonna say how long in development this game would be for, but just to have the same good vibes as that PS4 reveal. Good old wipe that says more details coming soon.
Side bet, is Final Fantasy 16 out before Metroid Prime 4?
There's no way. No, Metroid Prime 4. No, because, at Square Enix, they like to announce games before people even know they're working on them, so...
Yeah, that's true.
No, the real bet is 16 coming before Part 2?
That I've been thinking a lot about that lately, and I don't know the answer to that. Final prediction here. Mod Nation Racers returns.
Ooh.
This time, 100-player races. Instantaneous loading for all of your custom tracks and carts. It's time to give San Diego Studio something good to do, other than this baseball nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Nonsense.
Dude.
That dude's about to turn in more profit next year than it's ever seen with it going cross-platform.
So, put it into Mod Nation. Bring back what the people want. Bonus prediction, and you and I can share equal points in this, but Deep Down from Capcom will be a launch title. 7 years later, man. It's coming.
Oh, man.
It's fucking coming.
How about Wild? Like we're throwing fucking games in development.
No, that is... Look.
Dude,
you don't spend 112 years making
fuck
Dreams.
You, Agent. Agent's coming. The PS...
No, they canceled that.
The power... They didn't cancel it. They just lost the trademark. That page is still up on Rockstar's website.
I feel like they said, like, nah, we're not doing that.
Nah. Nope. As far if some fucking stupid IGN article is going to say, "Hey, things in development hell, Agent," yes, Agent is still coming. With the power of PS5, it's finally possible.
IGN will write anything to get a click.
And they got a click.
This guy right here, old Jackie baby, when asked, he said, "Hey, maybe you should ask your friends at Rockstar about that." And then he smiled and threw his dick out the window. Oh boy. Well, Matt is currently dying.
Oh, I did make a official prediction about it, but I'm still dying. I'm choking on water. I think you're gonna see Demon Souls. I think that's whatchamacallit's big remake that they've been teasing. Blue Point, yeah.
Here's the one sad thing about everything you and I have just said.
None of it's gonna happen.
Nothing is original. No, everything we've talked about is sequels or continuations of these distant, lost franchises or whatever. I want to see what these studios are doing that's new.
After working on it for 80 years.
Yeah, that's true. No, but what are these studios doing that's new? You know, I think when you ask me about predictions, I think about like the Sony Worldwide Studio stuff or whatever the fuck they're calling it now, and I think about like Studio Japan, who hasn't put out a thing in a long time. Some of the stuff like XDev. There's like little internal teams at Sony who haven't done anything for a while. Teams like Sucker Punch they haven't put out a game in a while, but it's coming, right? And I don't know. I wonder about those other ones. There's all that talk about this fucking Team Silent or whatever, Team Siren working within Studio Japan to do fucking Silent Hill revival and all that stuff. And I don't know the validity of it. It seems too good to be true, but then Pyramid Head's showing up in Dead by Daylight. So maybe, right? And maybe that's this week.
No, we didn't bring that up in news shit.
Yeah, I forgot about it. But yeah, I mean, that's the part where like I kind of hope that what we see is, because in my head I was like, yep, Horizon 2, Spider-Man 2.
I know you're saying what we talked about. Like when we think of predictions, like how the hell do you guess like without just blatantly saying new IP? Like you can't guess what a new IP is, right?
No, and I know that.
I think you're gonna get it. Like a new console is an opportunity to do something like that. But you got to have something that is going to push units, and like a sequel to a Covenant franchise. Yeah. Whether it's a remake of Demon's Souls for those people, or it's the Call of Duty on PS5. It's everywhere, but it will have the PlayStation logo in front of it and behind it.
And all of that is always, like, obviously that's exciting. I do want to see Gran Turismo 7 and Media Molecule's Ape Escape, right? I do want to see everything
Racer.
You said that. No, what were the three that you said?
Oh, Twisted Metal, God of War, and Horizon.
Right, I want to see what those look like. I want to see what's changed, what's new about them. But at the same time, like I want the same surprise we got when we first saw Horizon, where you're like, holy shit.
And I still think that's possible. It's just, you don't know what to think of like the next IP, and unless it's one of those things where you hear like in news like sources saying that, because we kind of knew Horizon, like a game like a Robo Dinosaur thing was coming. It's just we didn't know what it was, to what extent or whatever. Like,
no, I'm not saying our predictions are sad. I'm just saying that like that's my ultimate prediction or hope for this is really that like I want to be surprised. I'm tired of like knowing everything.
I think you'll get a surprise. I think you'll get at least one, maybe two.
Yeah.
I don't think you're. I'm doubtful that it comes from the first party though.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to pull that off.
Like new IP surprise. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Well, we'll find out on Thursday, and then we'll talk about it next week for sure. Thank you again for putting together our little pop quiz today. That was a fun exercise in thought here. I gotta keep thinking about my man Jackie over there.
Like I said, you got me all fucked up. I see people. I'm like, is she living in the street or is she on the pipe? And I don't even know what it means, but I think I'm coming up with my own reasonings.
That's all that matters. You let it be. You can let us be on Twitter. The Free Cheese is at Some Free Cheese. Matt is at MattyAce131. I am at The Free Cheese. I have a question for you real quick before we say goodbye.
All right.
Do I need to keep talking about... I'm never on Twitter, so do I need to keep including the Twitters in here? All right, next week we'll see if I can...
tweet a lot. I do a lot of retweeting.
I'm down to...
Also, I will stream Artifact if I ever get a code.
All right, so follow Matt. You can follow me too. I'm just not on it. Email us, though, because I do check the email. podcast@thefreecheese.com is an email address you can practice your emails with. And that's it. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel. Have a good week.
Yeah. Enjoy the reveal. That might be underwhelming.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener. Bye.